Hey guys, welcome back to more AFK Arena. In today's video, we have an updated version of that guide from Raku Day about signature item 40, and this one includes the 4 faction heroes, along with a changelog and some changes to the Awakened, Celestial, Dimensional, and Hypergeans. So the first thing I want to do is jump over here to the original post and read the comment from Raku Day, because I believe getting the context is always good for basically the way it's formatted and stuff like that, and also give the other appropriate shout outs. So let's go through this first. So hello everyone, today I present to you the second and updated version of our early guide to the newly introduced system of signature item level 40. Again, I would like to preface by saying that I did not work on this alone. This is a conjoint that I don't think I've ever heard that word, but I'm not very literate. This is a conjoint work with Bastea, and he deserves as much credit for this guide. Sorry if I butchered the name, but massive shout out there. I would also like to thank Sick My Duck, dude. I always, whenever I see this dude's name, I get so close to messing it up. It's a great name. Who gave some very precise help and feedback. As for the guide itself, we've reworked our rankings for all heroes that were included in the previous guide, but we have also added Lightbearers, Maulers, Wilders, and Graveborn. Lastly, a changelog was added so that you can see what exactly changed to compare the previous version. If you have issues, you can check okay, cool beans. So we've got some issues. What you will notice, and this is, I like this part here, what you will notice is that a lot of stuff has been heavily downgraded, and priorities above 40 have been removed as well, since the cost is way too high to actually for the actual return. So that means like maybe some characters got a really good stat at like 45, and they used to say like that's the optimal range, but like at the end of the day, it's too expensive to bring anyone to 45 because you're going to have new heroes to build anyway. So I think that's just saying the recommendation is just leave everything at 40. The reason for that is the fact that as of right now, there's only a handful of heroes that are deserving to be signature item 40'd, even among the very meta ones. This naturally means that future heroes are expected to have strong signature item 40, since it's been the case with all newly introduced heroes following the implementation of a power creep. This is why we felt like it was necessary to downgrade most heroes to give context to future releases. So we already seen this with the Dancing Duo, that it's like to get their core effect, you needed the signature item 40. So I've said this from the start that unfortunately when you get one of these systems, it now means you need to max out that system on new heroes to get the max effect that you otherwise wouldn't have needed to do previously if this system was never implemented. So new heroes, I can see basically for the near future, new heroes are going to need those signature item 40s to be, you know, fully built. Whereas a bunch of old heroes will still function perfectly fine without the signature item 40 because they didn't really design the characters with the signature item 40. They just slapped a bit of a number increase for most characters that were existing, and the new ones are going to need it. I would also like to re-explain the 5th and 6th column. The recommended priority in the 5th column only applies to signature items the level above 30 and does not apply to priorities under 30. For instance, Faith Hale's signature item 30 is really good, but you will see that in the 5th column, he is rated as very low, and in the 6th column, recommended priority is 30. This does not mean that his level 30 is bad. It means that taking him above 30 is a very low priority, and that recommended investment is 30. I hope this clears up any confusion regarding the... Okay, so basically what that means is if we jump over to this one here, and just zoom it out a little bit. If we jump out of this one here, so you can see here that Scrag is very low priority, and this is just jumping into the first one. This column is basically like your priority to go above signature item 30. And it's like, don't go above signature item 30. If you're using Scrag, just go to 30. If you're using Warwick, go to 20. But let's face it, you're not really using many of these heroes at the moment. I mean, Scrag does have his niche use, which is nice, but you know, you get the gist. So let's go through it. Now this first page here is basically the same as it was in the previous one, just going through all the systems. I'm not going to redo this. If you want to go look at the previous video where I go through this stuff, you can do it, but always think of Walker. Think before investing. Dude, I love that. Dude, Walker. How is Walker the lone ranger in AFK Arena? He's a warrior. In AFK Journey, he's a rogue. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Just make him a ranger, please. Anyway, I digress. So basically here, when we look at the 4 factions, now I'm going to browse through this because, like, let's face it, there's nothing crazy in Maulers that we're going absolutely nuts about. The best mauler at the moment is probably Wormy, and you know, you're not really going to invest into that, but it's a nice little look. If you want to get a roundup of the characters, you can jump in here and you can take a look, and that will give you a look at what maulers have to offer. Then we go into the light bearers. Now the light bearers do have some useful ones. Like I mentioned, the dancing duo down here, the new character. Gotta wait and see how they're performing. I haven't really paid too much attention in the last week, but now that they're out on a global service, we can pay a bit more attention to this and sort of see how they're ranking overall. That's what this column is very important for, which is the meta. And you know, you could look at this as a tier list, but just use it as a rough meta type scenario. Now, when we look at this, you know, you don't want to be investing in a C tier or it's like a meta C, even if it's got an S plus across the board in the rest. It means the signature item 40 is good for them, but they're a shit unit, so they're still going to be a shit unit essentially. But as you can see here, like Palmer, the old chicken Palmer, he's a good unit, but let's face it, he really doesn't need a signature item 40. When we jump into One Piece over here, dude, I always forget this guy's name, Monkey Man. I always think he looks like an admiral off One Piece. But how do I forget people's names so easily? But he, like, you can see he's a solid A plus, S plus, S plus on the stats. Once again, these columns affect that's to do with the effect you get at 40. This is the primary stats, attack, defense, HP, and this is the advanced stats, which are whatever other like sort of sub-stats that they get added in there. So I still wouldn't invest into any of these personally. I don't think it's worth it. I think one, you've got to save for new heroes and maybe invest into a couple of the awakened or sell hypos along the way. And that's pretty much where I'm looking. So that is that one for the light bearers and the maulers. Next up, we jump into the Graveborn. Now, to me, there's only one unit in Graveborn that really, I was like, okay, let's see if their signature item 40 is good, and that is Bones, because Bones is an absolute monster. But like, at the end of the day, I think he functions perfectly well without it. So I don't think, even though he's a great unit and we've got ASS here, I would still not go ham on Bones at the moment, because I don't think it's 100% necessary. Then, as we look to the Wilders, so there's one unit in here that I would consider, and that is old mate the druid. I can't remember his name. Wait, it's written right next to it. Atheus. So Atheus is just an absolute monster of a unit. I love this guy from early game to late game. You see he's got the great effect, which is actually buffing to your team, because he increases, I believe it's normal attack damage, and his signature while he has his cage on the field, that is, but it's also for allies. So I think he's just one of those units that is always going to have viability in that effect if we get a top tier unit that relies entirely on basic attacks. You know, he kind of has some synergy with Lucilla in that sense, you know, but like there's no, I don't think there's I'm trying to think of a normal attacker that's completely dominating. I can't think of one at the moment. Like if you think back in the day, like if Raku was the meta again and he does all his damage through basic attacks, like I don't know, but I just think he's just viable without that buffing aspect to him. He's just amazing. He's got survivability. He's got control. He's just an absolute cracked 4-faction unit, in my opinion. He gets really good stats out of this effect. He gets a good effect out of the effect. Gets good stats out of the signature item 40. And he's just an all-round great unit. So he's the one that I would consider doing from the 4 factions. Because he's just sort of come in and he's like just dominating. So I really do like this guy. Moving on past that, we get into the range of refreshing what we'd looked at before in these characters, in the Celestials, in the Hypergeans, and also in the Awakens down here. And once again, I feel like Shamira is a safe play. Lucius, dude, I gotta do some more Lucius stuff. I've been pushing Chiasma. We've pushed like another 2 chapters since I last made a video, and I've been doing a lot of Lucius testing, pairing him with Gavus and also Atheus, and it's just like a really solid comp. But Lucius is a very high investment type character, so I'm unsure, but I feel like Shamira is one that a lot of people are going to build, and she's a safe bet. I feel like Alika is a one that a lot of people may have or built, and I think she's a safe one as well. Moving on from that, I feel like we get into sort of not too sure areas. Like I built a few I did a few Signature Item 40s on my account, but you know, I don't know how optimal it was. I was just diving in. So that is that. Over here we have the dimensionals once again, and honestly, nothing too much that I'd go investing into in dimensionals either at the moment. Like we said at the start, it's kind of that case of new characters going to power creep. If we get a new Celestial, Hypergean, Awakened, Dimensional, you know, they're going to need it. And I'd rather have resources to build new characters as they come than investing too heavily into some pre-existing characters. This goes through the costs. You can pause this and read this if you want the recommendations. I read through all this in the last one, so I'm not going to repeat this. And then if you want, on this final page, we do have the changelog of what happened. Like he said, just heavily downgraded a lot of characters, because even though they're good in the current state of the game, like, because even though they're, wait, let me just pause. Even though the Signature Item 40 is good in the current state of the game, they downgraded, I believe this was my understanding, to basically not make things look too overpowered, because we know that future characters are going to need them. But you can go ahead and you can look at this changelog as well. Once again, I'll leave a link to this in the description. And as always, massive shout out to Raku Day for this one, but also to Bestia. Dude, I'm sorry if I said the name wrong. And also to Sick My Duck. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.